Hello, welcome to this brief video about schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a psychiatric disorder characterised by a loss of contact with reality and distortions in thinking, speech, perception, emotion, and behaviour. It has a lifetime prevalence of approximately 1% and typically emerges during late adolescence or early adulthood. This figure shows the age of onset of mental disorders in the general population. You can see that for disorders like schizophrenia, the peak age of onset is 20.5 years of age, shown by the black curve here. Let's look at some symptoms. Positive symptoms like delusions and hallucinations reflect an excess or distortion of normal processes. Delusions are false beliefs sustained in the face of evidence that normally would be sufficient to destroy them. For example, believing that someone is after you, considering yourself a major figure on the world stage, like an entertainer or a politician, or believing that the real world does not exist or has been destroyed. Hallucinations are false perceptions that have a compelling sense of reality. Hearing voices that are not actually there is the most common type of hallucination, but you might also see, smell, taste, or feel things that are not there. And finally, disorganised thinking and speech, so talking incoherently, frequently changing topic, giving unrelated answers to questions, and coming up with new words or word combinations. Negative symptoms, on the other hand, reflect an absence of normal reactions. For example, blunted affect refers to diminished facial and emotional expression. Anhedonia is the inability to experience pleasure from positive stimuli. And asociality refers to social withdrawal. For the rest of this video, I'll walk you through some key explanations of schizophrenia, exploring various factors that may play a role. Specifically, we are going to cover prenatal maternal stress, obstetric complications, season of birth, and place of birth. Exposure to maternal stress during pregnancy, termed prenatal exposure, increases the risk of schizophrenia in offspring. Various maternal stressors have been implicated, including bereavement, war, and natural disasters. One study examined the impact of the 1976 Great Tangshan earthquake on schizophrenia risk, analysing data from over 94,000 births within a broad area around the earthquake's epicentre. Individuals with prenatal exposure to the earthquake, meaning their mothers lived near the epicentre during pregnancy, had a 3.4 times higher likelihood of developing schizophrenia compared to those without such exposure. And the risk was particularly high for those exposed during the first trimester of pregnancy, with a 7.5 times greater likelihood of developing schizophrenia. Now, obstetric complications are problems that can occur during pregnancy, labour, or after giving birth. In a comprehensive meta-analysis, 3 groups of obstetric complications were significantly associated with schizophrenia in offspring. Firstly, complications of pregnancy, such as maternal diabetes. Second, abnormal fetal growth and development, such as low birth weight. And third, complications of delivery, such as emergency C-sections. People born during winter and spring are also slightly more likely to develop schizophrenia. One study reported an excess of schizophrenia births in winter-spring of 5.3% and a deficit in summer-autumn of 5.6% in comparison with the general population. This so-called seasonality effect is relatively robust in the Northern Hemisphere, while findings from the Southern Hemisphere are less consistent. This figure plots the monthly birth distributions of births for the schizophrenia patients, which is the solid line, and the general population, which is the dashed line. There is an obvious peak in February, which is month 2, and a trough from June to July. But in the general population, no such patterns can be observed. Finally, people born in urban areas are also slightly more likely to develop schizophrenia. For example, one study found that individuals born in the most remote areas of Denmark experienced 38% lower rates of schizophrenia than those born in the most urban areas. And why might this be? So why might season and place of birth have these effects? Well, prenatal exposure to infections and vitamin D deficiency are plausible explanations. Densely populated urban areas, along with colder winter months, are both linked to higher rates of infection and less sunlight exposure. Thanks for listening.